Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. We are delighted to have one of our partners joining us, Insight Software, otherwise known as Jet Global. Bryan Reed will be presenting on Future-Proof Your Reporting with Jet Reports and Analytics. And as a reminder, we are recording this webinar and we will post it to our on-demand webinar library for you to review again or share with anyone. And you can find our library under our resources tab on our website at innovia.com. And we do encourage you to ask questions during our presentation. So please feel free to type them in the questions box on the webinar control panel, and we will answer them at the end of our session. And if you do have a question during the webinar and you'd like to raise your hand, you can also do that too at any time. So now I'm going to turn it over to Bryan to kick off our presentation.
Thank you, Angie, and hello today, everyone. As Angie just expressed, thank you all for taking the time today as I go through a high-level overview of how you all can future-proof your reporting with our Microsoft Dynamics purpose-built reporting product, Jet Reports and Jet Analytics. But before we get into it, everyone, I'd like to take a moment to formally introduce myself. Again, my name is Bryan Reed. I'm a channel manager here on the Jet team here at Insight Software. And as you've probably already figured, I will be your presenter today for Future-Proof Your Reporting with Jet Reports and Jet Analytics. I've been with Insight Software for about 9 months. Prior to joining Insight Software, I worked in the mobile phone industry for about 8 years. I attended Southeastern Louisiana University and have since resided in New Orleans, Louisiana, where everyone, the food is absolutely amazing. And it's also the perfect place for me because I'm a musician as well. So on the weekends, I'm a trombonist. So of course, in my leisure time, one of the things I really enjoy doing, aside from learning, is practicing my trombone, just working at getting better at my craft. So that was an introduction of me. So now, everyone, I want to give us an introduction to our organization, Insight Software, so that you can understand our mission and why we're here today. So as a quick overview of Insight Software, our solutions, everyone, are purpose-built to help CFOs and finance teams make sense of their data. Our goal here is to tackle that complicated task of getting your enterprise data into the systems that all finance teams love, which is Excel. And this is so that you can improve data transparency and, of course, make more informed business decisions. As we can see on the slide, we have a global presence of over 500,000 daily users, everyone, and our solutions are compatible with over 150 ERPs. Now, for Microsoft Dynamics, again, that's going to be the Jet Suite application. So today with Jet, I'll give you a feel for what these tools look like in action. We'll build some reports from scratch in Excel, both financial and operational. We'll look at our pre-built reports that come ready to go out of the box with Jet. And of course, as Angie mentioned, we're going to open up the chat box for Q&A to answer as many questions as best I can and do my best to make sure you have a good understanding of how our solutions can work with your data. So just a little about Jet. Everyone, it's the most widely used add-in for Microsoft Dynamics users. The Jet Suite product has lived in the space comfortably for the last 20 years. So that really speaks to why it's that go-to application for Dynamics users to get the most out of your data and, again, make better data-driven decisions. So what we focused on here with Jet was helping users get information out of their databases or complete technology stack, and again, into an end-user-friendly tool. And I like to mention that we do so in a way that's controlled, governed, and secure, so that you can guarantee that the right people are seeing the right information in the right way at the right time. Now, of course, again, that can be inside of Microsoft Excel, the most commonly used office productivity software, or it can also be used to help deploy data visualization tools, guys, like Power BI. So why do businesses invest in Jet? Well, it's simple, yeah. Jet was designed for dynamic users to have optimized reporting in Excel, a tool that's comfortable and native to report writers, so that you can accomplish what I like to call big picture goals, right? And these can include some points that we see here on the screen, things like improving working capital management, increasing revenue, These are things you can do with accurate and detailed reporting. You have managed risk, staying in compliance. So it just essentially provides an investment that keeps your reporting streamlined, efficient, and accurate. So here, everyone, I like to take the time to slow this slide as well. This is just a quick slide of some of our current Jet end users that are having some really great success with Jet in the different verticals that their industries are in. So we have manufacturing, we have distribution, professional services, retail, field and services, so on and so forth. So again, this is just a quick snapshot of some successful companies that are using Jet. So what does the Jet suite consist of? Well, everyone, we have two avenues of reporting, and then we have our budgeting and planning tool. So starting there to the left, we have Jet Reports. So this is our real-time reporting tool that lives in Excel and connects directly to your ERP so that you can get all of that financial and operational data that you need in the format that you want. This lets you quickly and easily build reports in Excel and refresh those reports to pull in that latest data. So the best out of the box feature with this tool, aside from pulling data directly from your ERP into Excel, we also offer our library of pre-built reports. Yeah, and this gets a lot of our end users a lot of the way, are a good foot forward when it comes to having a reporting solution and needing some reports that are stagnant out of the box. And this also gives you the chance to eliminate things like the manual data dumps or the manual manipulations, everything that we know to be time consuming and prone to error. Then we move forward there, we have General Analytics. So everyone, this is our flagship application. This is our full business intelligence solution that comes in the form of a pre-built data warehouse and cubes. And the cubes are set to enable optimized data for reporting across your full technology stack. So the real power of this tool is realized whenever you're creating complex reports or dashboards. And it can also be used to build reports against multiple databases, right? And this is because, of course, a lot of companies are pulling from more than one data sources these days. Can also be used whenever you're tying together multiple tables in one report, or whenever you're making reports or dashboards using complex KPIs and matrices. This also provides a set of accurate and governed data for a source of one truth. And it can also be used, again, as I mentioned, for a data model for data visualization applications like Power BI. And with that, everyone, that it kind of eliminates the need to understand that underlying data schema, and always we're having to rely on IT or a dedicated resource team to help build queries in something as powerful as Power BI. And in addition to that, we have our data warehouse automation tool that makes it easy to connect all of that information you need and helps maintain a complete data warehouse solution with as little effort as possible. So the real value add here is that we have that pre-built project that comes out of the box, designed, again, specifically for Dynamics users. And then there to the right, we've got VizView Planning. So everyone, this is our budgeting and planning tool that enhances workflow and lets you build business insights into your planning process. We will not be covering this today, but if you saw this and this raised some particular interest or flags about your own budgeting and planning process and wanting to build that comprehensive solution or collaborative solution, just know that we do have a product that we can set up a time to go through at a later date if need be. So from here, everyone, I want to bring up a quick overview of our library of pre-built reports. So everyone, again, out of the box with the Jet, right? We have over 85 pre-built reports and counting. There's financial reports, there's operational reports, there's different variations of these reports. Guys, these reports are completely modifiable and customizable. And as I mentioned a bit ago, this gets a lot of our end users a good bit of the way whenever it comes to having a solution and needing some reporting help out of the box here. So I actually, and as we note here, you can simply get to these by going to insightsoftware.com. And in the search box, just type in example reports there. And it can get you to the Jet reports once we select the product there to get to these Jet reports specifically. So I actually want to take the time to show us a couple of reports. So everyone, this first one here, this is one that comes out of the box. This is a consolidated P&L. The reason I like to show this one is because it breaks out across companies for me, but then it also gets into my global dimension one, which for me in my demo environment on my department. So once we actually get into and run this report, I'll show you how that breaks out. But before we get into that, I want to direct everyone's attention here to the top. So everyone, again, Jet bolts into Excel. So we don't hijack any of Excel's native functionality, yeah? We simply just equipped it more for more dynamic and effective build outs from your ERP directly in Excel. So for starters here, we have our design button. And this reports in design mode, everyone. This is going to be set for our design licensed users. This is going to be anyone that's going through and building out a manual report, manipulating or formatting, reformatting one of these pre-built reports, setting some filters for reports, essentially anyone that has all autonomy through the product. Then we have our run button here. Of course, this is where you're going to run a report. And of course, this would be used by aside from our designer, this would be used by our viewer licensed users. That's going to be anyone that you kind of want to drill down into a report, maybe refresh a report, again, run a report. And you can run a report, of course, 3 different ways. You can run up front, you can run against cache data, or you can run in the background if you're currently working on a book. And then we have our drill down feature, which lets you get into any underlying transaction. We'll get into that in a few. And then as we move forward, we have our build out tools here. So we have different things like our fast financials tool, which is native to Jet and Excel. We have report options, report wizards, table builder, pivot table. Again, a bunch of tools in your tool belt that you have to go through and effectively build out or modify reports. Then we have our consumption methods here. So for starters, everyone, we have the Jet Hub, and the Jet Hub is very, very popular. This is our complimentary online repository for your documents or your reports, to where you can upload these reports for disbursement, and you can also upload these to be scheduled and updated. There's also the scheduler. The scheduler is native to connecting with SharePoint, OneDrive. You can send PDF, you can send Excel, you can email as well. So just equipping you with different ways to distribute these reports out to the right hands and have those dynamic updates as you distribute. Then we have our settings and information toggle here. So we have this here where you can switch to your databases if you have multiple databases set up. You can switch to your companies. And I like to call out here, everyone, that this shows 2 companies for me in my demo database, but this can be 2, 4, 20, 400, 600, so on and so forth, right? However many companies you're trying to host or you're trying to pull data from. And then, of course, your settings and always being aware of any updates that are coming down the line. So everyone, again, this report is in design mode. So I want to go through and let's run this report. So whenever we want to report, everyone, it's going to pull up the report options, right? And this is going to be what we use to set the filters. This is completely modifiable, customizable, and dynamic as well, meaning that if anything updates in your ERP, of course, it's going to be dynamically updated to relay in Jet, and you can start having that as a choice to filter from. We can also get more nuanced here with your filter operators and setting more nuanced filters there for report consumption. So let's go through and run. We're going to see Jet kind of do some lifting for us. And now this report's ran, everyone. And as I mentioned, it's going to break out across sheets here, across companies. And then again, for me, it's going to get into my global dimension 1, which are my departments here. And then I also have my consolidated view, which of course would have that, that currency exchange calculation there for the UK and the USA company. But more importantly, I also want to show the drill down feature, everyone. And this is, again, going to get you into any underlying transaction that's under this on the surface figure. And it's going to pull up what's called the grid view here. And as this loads, again, it's going to give me to those underlying transactions there. And you can modify this via grouping or sorting any way that you need for consumption. If there are any underlying transactions under these, you can drill down even further. And then you can also export these to its own Excel book here. And then one thing I like to mention about the drill down feature with our BC users specifically is that if you had any invoices or PDFs tied to any of these underlying transactions, you can actually click into this and it takes you to your web instance of BC and connects you or directs you to that PDF or invoice, making it a very interactive experience for you all. So I want to exit out of this one. And I like to bring up another one as well, everyone. This is just an executive overview of some financial snapshots, right? We have our profit and loss statement here. We have our KPIs. We have our balance sheet, cash flow. But this just shows a really good example of how creative you can get with building a report in Jet. And as I mentioned, not only can you completely modify and customize these reports, you can change item lines, you can change category lines, you can change strands of, you can change your global dimensions, or any modifications that you need to make relevant to your business. You can also recreate any pre-built report that you see as well. So now I want to open up a fresh worksheet, and we're going to build out an example. So for this first example, everyone, I'm going to use my Fast Financials tool. And everyone, the Fast Financials is going to be the quickest and easiest way to get financial information out of your system and into Excel. So that you can start to configure the reports to get the information that you want. So this is a live read into your GL. So any departmental report that requires GL information, you can go through and build out with the Fast Financials tool. And in this example, I'm going to build a P&L. So I want to make sure I have my proper columns. I have my name, amount, budget. You can also use calculated columns as well, like variance and variance percentage. And of course, I want to make sure I include these in the header. So next, I want to go through and pick the relevant accounts, everyone. So of course, I'm going to start in my revenue accounts here. And then from here, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to shift and click so I can grab in bulk my relevant accounts. And then I'm going to drag and drop into Excel. And then we're going to see Jet start to do some of that lifting for us. And it's pulling up my P&L information. And as I mentioned, everyone, right, we're in Excel. So if we want to go through here, we can add some inserts. You can do any other formatting that you'd like. But more importantly, let's go through and start to give this report some context, because we see some figures here, but these are just figures for all of time. So let's go through and add some numbers here. So I'm going to go 1, 1. And I like to use 2018 because I know I have great data there in that range here. So everyone, now we see those numbers start to update for us. So let's say I want to go through and I want to build out and I want to get more of a forecasting overview, right? I can simply just copy and paste over. And as I mentioned, right, we're in Excel. So I'm not hijacking, as I mentioned, any of Excel's functionality. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to hard code in a end of month formula here. And of course, I'm doing it a month for this example's sake, but you can put any formula you want there. You can put year over year, you can put day over day, quarter over quarter, whatever you're looking to consume. So we're going to close out. So now, everyone, when I copy and paste, it's going to update month over month for me. So I can go through and get that overview. And as I mentioned, you can go through and add any other customizations. You can go through and add some coloring here. Let's give this report some character. Yeah, you can take away the grid lines. You can add company logos. Yeah. And I also like to mention as well that the first row and column, everyone, are used for JET keywords. The most common are hide and fit. Hide is going to be used in case there's anything that you want to hide in a final report. And fit is so this report can be nice and tidy whenever we run this report. So now we've given this report a bit of character. Let's go through and run this report. Then, as I mentioned, as you saw in the pre-built report, as well as on your manual reports, you're going to have your report options there to go through and set your filters. And as I mentioned, these are completely modifiable and customizable and dynamically updated as well. So let's go through and run. And that report's ran from everyone. So now I have that information. You can save this report and give it a title, so you don't have to keep rebuilding these reports time after time. And as you pull the report up, you can just go through and have these either set to be updated or, of course, run the report to be updated with that dynamic data. And then, of course, we can drill down here as well. And it's going to take us into that grid view to get into any underlying transactions there. So everyone, that was a quick example of our Fast Financials tool in JET Reports. I'm going to prepare myself for the next one. So next, we're going to move into JET Analytics. So these next couple of slides here, I'm going to show you a bit about the model that comes with Gen Analytics. So again, this is our flagship business intelligence solution that comes in the form of a pre-built data warehouse in cubes. And to get into it a bit, everyone, with business intelligence at its core means presenting data in a way that's actionable. So with analytics, we're going to pull that data from your ERP as well as other data sources if you have them, and we're going to organize it in a way that's optimized for reporting. So for the end user, you don't have to understand that underlying data schema of your ERP to go in and build out a complex report and dashboard because of the way that that data is going to be organized for you. So the goal here is to take you from raw data to optimized data. So starting here in the left panel, that's your database, yeah? That's something that we know to be a complex web of tables and fields that have specific relationships between them. So reporting directly against that database can be complicated, yeah? You need to know what table that data lives in within your database, and it gets even more complicated when you need to report on data from multiple tables in one report. So Jet simplified that and made it a lot easier on the end user. So again, starting here with the data source, that data is going to be loaded into our data warehouse here, where we're going to organize that data by subject matter and tie together that relevant data for you all so that you can start to report by subject matter and in an optimized format. And everyone, that's typically where most BI solutions would stop. But as we move forward, we see our cubes here. So with Jet, we take that level of interactivity a step further with our pre-built cubes. And out of the box with Jet, we have cubes for things like finance, inventory, purchasing, sales. And with the cubes, that's where we add in dimensionality, which will allow you to interact with that data, twist it a bit more, turn it a bit more, slice it and dice it a bit more even, to see what's important to you. And everything within the cube, everyone, is pre-calculated. So that really helps with enhancing speed. And we can also build in any sort of custom calculations or custom KPIs, again, to really ensure that everyone's assessing that one version of the truth. So the real value add here is that we have been able to develop a comprehensive pre-built project specifically for Dynamics. And with that, we find that about 80 to 90% of what a Dynamics user would need for reporting, it's already mapped out within these projects. And the other 10 to 15 to 20% or so, it's just going to be for any other client-specific customizations, which we help with as well. So next, I want to zoom out a bit, right? And we're going to talk a bit about the backend workflow of Gen Analytics. So again, here we have all of your data sources. We can pull that into our ETL tool, which is the Jet Data Manager. And of course, ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. So the first set of arrows here is going to be the extraction of that data. So let's say one of this is our Dynamics instance. If you have another CRM you wish to pull in, let's say you have a legacy database you want to pull in again. Again, Jet's going to be able to pull that into our Jet Data Manager. So this middle section that we see here, this is going to be that transformation piece where we go from that raw data to that one unified data set. And then our last section here, this is going to be the load piece, everyone. This is where you pick your front-end tool to digest the information that's important to you. And you can pick whichever front-end tool that can read SQL-based code. But of course, the most popular is Excel. And as I've mentioned, you can also connect to Power BI as well as any other visualization tools that can read SQL-based code. So now we're going to hop back in Excel, everyone. And I want to show an example of building out a report using our cubes. So I'm going to go to my Jet ribbon. I'm going to select my cubes. And for this example, everyone, I'm going to use my pivot table. So again, out of the box with Jet, we have cubes for, again, things like finance, inventory, manufacturing, payables, purchase, receivables. But for this example, we're going to use our sales cube. So we're going to select. So over here to the right, everyone, you see the pivot field that shows the contents of a cube. So we have our measures, which are going to be signified by this sigma sign here. We have two sections, or the sum sign. And then we have our dimensions, which are going to be signified by what I like to call the notepad sign. So everyone, all measures have multiple dimensions pointed at them. So for example, a measure of sales. A sales measure can be defined based off of things like cost, average unit of cost, quantity, profit percentage, essentially just a lot of different numbers. And these measures are nothing more than just that, numbers, dollars, integers, even percentages. So let's build out a report with some sales measures. So the measures that I'm going to use are going to be sales, cost, profit, and profit percentage. And now we're going to go through and add our dimensions. And as I mentioned, the dimensions are going to be the way that you look at this data, right? The way we cut it, the way we slice it. So for example, that can be something like location, item, maybe even time frame. So let's go through and pick some dimensions of how we want to kind of navigate through this data. So for this one, I think I want to do item, and then I want to see some dates. So real quickly, everyone, I can go through and I can expand out on these item lines and start to get some insight into these figures. And I can even expand across a time range, so I can get even deeper with it. So let's continue to build out, right? Let's go through and add some slicers. So I want to do a slicer for location. We can find a nice home. And then I also want to do a slicer for departments, which, as I mentioned, for me is my global dimension 1. So now everyone, as we see again, I can filter through this report and see what department is doing what where. And I can back out. And then since we are in Excel, let's go through and give this that full dashboard feel, adding a chart. And of course, you can go through and pick your choice. Yeah, you can pick whichever chart you want to use. I'll keep it simple. We'll use this one that's suggested here. And I'll expand across. So now everyone, I have that full dashboard feel. So as you can see, I have a quickly built operational report that consists of complex data from multiple tables. And I was able to go through and quickly pick whatever measures I wanted, and to pick the dimensions as how I wanted to see it, and build out this dashboard in about less than 5 minutes. So just to show you the dynamic report building capabilities you have with building out with Gen Analytics and using the data cubes. So next, as I mentioned, that Gen Analytics helps power Power BI or deploy Power BI. So next, I want to get into it a bit with Power BI. So just to kind of show you how with Gen Analytics, you can easily go in and build out a report or dashboard without having to have that dedicated source to write and build queries for Power BI. So I'll get out of this one. And I want to pull up my Power BI application. So first, I'm going to go grab my data. And again, we're going to have analytics or the cubes pointed at Power BI. So we're going to go to analysis services here. And you're going to put in your credentialing. Then we want to pick our cubes. And I'm going to build out another sales example. We're going to build out a sales dashboard here. And much like we saw in Excel, it's going to pull back that data set for me, and I have my measures to choose from in these first sections. And I have my dimensions to go through of how I want to look at that data. And before we get into it, everyone, Power BI, it's a data visualization application, as we already know, but it's important to remember that it's really focused on the front. It provides a great front-end experience, but where most end users are going to have a challenge is with that back-end data model. Whenever you're tying together relationships between the different tables and fields to go in and get that dimensionality. So unless you're using a tool like Gen Analytics, you'll likely need a dedicated resource to write and build queries to be able to report in something as powerful as Power BI. So again, I'll show you what it looks like to point Power BI at the cubes and how easy it is to go in and spin up a dashboard using measures and dimensions. So I'm going to start off with my measures. And we're going to use our sales measure. So we have our measure. Let's go through and pick our dimension. I want to use item. Item by category. So we pick our dimension after we pick our measure, and then we pick our visual, how we want to see it. I'm fine with a bar graph. And then we give that panel a home. And then we repeat that process with our next reporting block. So we pick our measure, Let me go through and pick our dimension. I want to do salesperson because I want to see who's doing what. So we pick how we want to see it. Here, give it a home. We'll repeat that step. We'll do a few more. Sales. I'm going to go do posting date. Go here. And I can pick how I want to see it. We'll go here. That's fine. And then now let's pick some KPIs, everyone. So I'll do profit. I want to see that in this particular visual. Reformat a bit here. Here at home. We're going to do one more. I want to do profit percentage. Same visual. We're going to go here. And of course, everyone, since we are building a dashboard, absolutely no dashboard is complete without the graph. And I can go through and I can filter in and I can see how it starts to update for me. So even here, as you can see, I've built out another quick operational report with optimized in an optimized dashboard format. And I can filter through, and I didn't have to rely on IT or a specific Power BI dedicated resource. So everyone, that cues up about everything I had planned to show us with future-proof your reporting with Jet Reports and Analytics. So next, I want to take a few minutes here to answer some questions via the chat box. And any questions I can get to or I can't get to, we'll definitely be sure to get to them after shortly. So Angie.
Thank you, Bryan. If anybody does have any questions, please feel free to get them in the questions box now so we can have Bryan address them. Bryan, while we're waiting, do you have any last minute words that you'd like to say to the group?
Yeah, for starters, everyone, thank you all for attending. And if we saw anything today that sparked our interest, of course, please take the time to notate down my contact. So if we perhaps didn't get a chance to input those questions to the question box, please do not be shy and definitely do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'm always here to help.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Bryan. No questions have come through, so I'll go ahead and wrap it up. But like Bryan said, if you guys do have any questions and you want to address them directly to Bryan, you may go ahead and do so. His information is on the screen, or contact your Innovia Consulting Customer Engagement Representative, and we would be more than happy to have a discussion with you. You can check our website for more of our upcoming events, and that's innovia.com/events. Bryan, we do have a question that just came through.
Yeah, we would like to use this solution for sales analytics. Can this also use for sales information? Yes, indeed. So even though that first example I built out was that financials example, that last one I built out was definitely a sales example. So I was able to go through and use my sales cube to pull that out. And even in something like Jet Reports where you don't have the cubes, you can still access all of that financial and operational data that you need to get inside of Excel to begin the format. So yes, it can indeed access sales.
All right, great. Thank you. And in one of the examples, he is saying, or I'm sorry, she said that you showed financials with budget. Does the budget determined by the actual numbers, or was it populated manually?
Great question. The budget would indeed be determined by the actual numbers, but just remember that I was in a demo environment. So if something looked a bit off, that was probably why.
All right. Thank you again, Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
I'll wait just a couple more minutes. I'll finish up my ending as we are waiting for any additional questions to come through. So if you are interested in any Innovia training workshops, we do have a variety of workshops on our website for you to check out. That's innovia.com/workshops. We do have some available on request too, so if you don't see it already scheduled, please look at the full catalog and you can request a workshop as well. And if you have not heard about our latest Innovia Conversation podcast, we do have a library of podcast episodes for you to listen to, and you can learn more about that at innovia.com/podcast. And also, don't forget to check out our conference page, innovia.com/conferences. We will be attending Dynamics Con Live in San Antonio, Texas in September. So make sure you read up on all the details and register with our discount code. All right, well, I believe that's all that we have for you today. Bryan, thank you again for presenting, and for everyone who's on the webinar today, or if you're watching on demand, we thank you for taking the time out to join us. All right, well, thank you again and take care, and we will see you soon on another Innovia webinar. Thanks, Bryan.
Everyone. No worries. Thank you. Bye.